How many times have you looked yourself in the mirror, knew exactly what you needed to change, but never changed it? How many times have you said that this time is going to be different? You wrote down your goals, you prayed the prayer, and then you watch yourself fall back into the same patterns over and over. You see exactly what's happening, and you ask yourself, why am I becoming the same version that I told myself I was going to stop being? And if you've ever asked yourself that question, then this is for you. I'm Alex, a man of faith, a husband, a father, and a business owner. And this is a Kingdom Standard, a faith-driven show built for men who are done living below what God has called them to be. Men who want to live with purpose, lead with integrity, and build a legacy. Number one problem with a lot of men is that there is a gap between the men they are today and the men they want to become. The gap between their intentions and their actions. I want to read you Proverbs 25:28, saying, "A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls." And this verse hits pretty hard because is describing a weak man, not as someone that necessarily lacks talent, skills, or doesn't have money, is describing a man without self-control, because a man without self-control is left unprotected. A man with no walls and no guard. That means that if a man cannot govern himself, that everything around him becomes vulnerable. He has no guard to protect his wife, his children, his money. A man without discipline and self-control is somebody whose life is broken. So you ask yourself, my relationship with God becomes inconsistent because my flesh is always in the driver's seat. I'm letting my flesh control me because I have no discipline over my actions and I just let things happen. And that's where a lot of men are. Like, they want a blessing, but they build no structure in their life. They want a platform, but they have no fruit to show for it. And they want authority, but they can't even build obedience to themselves. And so they want to lead, but they are still controlled by their own impulses. And I'm saying this because I know what it feels like to fall short and still continue the same pattern. To know what's better and still choose wrong. To say that tomorrow I'll start, while deep down knowing that tomorrow is usually become another version of yesterday. But at some point, a man has to stop admiring who he wants to become and start building him. Because your future is not built on what you intend to do, it's built on what you repeatedly do. So when I say that the standard begins with you, I mean that there's specific areas in our lives where the standards we set ourselves become very visible, not in just what we believe, not in just what we say, but in the things that we do. And there's 4 areas that expose the system that has shaped the man you are today. And the first one is the mind. The mind is the most powerful tool that we have. So if we do not guard what comes into it, those things will govern our mind. Because what has our attention will eventually have influence over us. And what you focus on shapes what you believe. So how you think then shapes the decisions that you make. And then ultimately, the decisions that you make shape the way you live and the outcome of your life. I want to read a passage to you. Romans 12:2 says that, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." That means that transformation doesn't start on a calendar date. It starts in the mind. A lot of men are trying to change their life, but they're still feeding their mind the same garbage that's shaped the old version of themselves. The same fears, the same distractions, the same lust, and the same bitterness that's got them where they are today. So, and then you wonder why you're still falling back to the same patterns over and over again. And then come to realize that nothing changes unless I change. You do not rise to the standard of your intentions. You fall to the level of your discipline. Your life will eventually move into the direction of what your mind keeps consuming. What you focus on, you feed. What you feed grows, And what grows inside of you eventually starts to make the decisions for you. And because a man who does not guard his mind will eventually be governed by what gets access to it. The second area that we men struggle with is our own bodies. Not everybody struggles with this because some people are disciplined in the physical aspect but struggle in the mind, or vice versa. Me personally, I've been struggling with obviously being physically disciplined and fit, but I know that there's a direct correlation between how your physical fitness is and how your mental fitness is. And it goes both ways. It's very hard to do one without the other. So a lot of men are uncomfortable here when it comes to their physical fitness. But we have to be honest with ourselves that your body is the physical report card of your discipline. And I want to read Corinthians 9:27 saying, I discipline my body and keep it under control. What is controlling you? Are you disciplining your body and keeping your body under control, or is your weak mind controlling you? What matters is because our bodies affect our decisions. If we're lazy and tired and unhealthy and undisciplined, then we're constantly giving into comfort. And this doesn't just affect on how we look, this affects on how we lead. This affects our confidence, our patience, our self-control that we talked about. It affects our energy, and even affects the ability to show up for your wife, for your children, for your work, and your calling specifically. This physical report card can tell a person a lot of things about the decisions a person makes. A lot of people are like, well, why are you working out? Why, like, are you doing this for vanity? But the problem is, I think the statistical report is that more than like 80% of American churches have a massive, massive obesity problem. And we don't even talk about that. The gluttony is the same sin as alcoholism and being addicted and drinking, where that does not get talked about enough in the church. And I myself has been convicted. And so I'm starting to do something about it for myself. And so our goal for being disciplined in the body is not for vanity, it's for stewardship. God has given us a body to carry an assignment that he placed in our life. So the question, it's not the question to ask like, oh, am I trying to impress somebody? Am I trying to do this for looks? The question is, am I taking care of the body that God has given me? Am I taking care of the vehicle God has given me to drive? I've heard this example from Bedros Koulian saying that, like, if you got a car that you were told that here's a free car and you're only allowed to have this car for the rest of your life. So are you going to take care of it? Like, are you going to do the maintenance on it? Are you going to make sure the upholstery is good? Are you going to make sure your tires and your brakes are good? Are you taking care of your vehicle, the only vehicle that you have in your life that God has given you to steward? Are you taking care of it? And so this is like one of the biggest topics for me in my personal conviction. I know I have not been the man that I could be, because when I started falling in disciplines in one aspect of my life, the other one suffered, especially my body. And I make zero excuses for this, but it's just how I've personally been in the personal struggle I've been going through as well. So, and this leads me to my next point of something that we have to conquer is our morning. The third area, how you start the day matters because you set the direction of what and who leads you. A lot of men here start hitting the snooze button more times than they probably should have. And they grab their phone right away and they're constantly distracted and they're already filling their mind with garbage from the very morning. And so the problem is, even for myself, like if I ever start my morning with my phone, I'm constantly like my ADHD kicks in and my mind starts racing, and I notice how very quickly irritable and distracted I get in the morning. And then I'm just start feeling anxious and then start basically not controlling what I'm doing with my morning. And I feel spiritually empty, especially if I'm not seeking God first. The morning is what decides what gets first place. So does God get first place or does your phone? Does prayer lead the day or do you let the pressures of the day control you? Are you intentional with leading your day or does impulsivity take over? David writes, "O Lord, in the morning do you hear my voice, and in the morning I prepare a sacrifice for you and watch." Are you giving your day to the Lord? Are you sacrificing your morning to Him? I'm not saying that every morning has to be perfect. I understand we have a life, we have kids, we have business, we have problems that always attack us first thing in the morning. But we do have to set a standard of who and what is controlling the intent and the beginning of our day. How do we intentionally begin the day? A man who has to lead cannot keep starting his day mastered by his phone and his emotions. The morning is where you remind your flesh that you do not lead me, and you remind your brain that God is in control, that I am led by conviction, I'm led by discipline and purpose, that God has called me. And number 4 is money. Money reveals what most men are not willing to admit, but the Bible says that the love of money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say that money in itself is bad, because God does reward his children. He wants us to be wealthy, and this is not some prosperity gospel. It's just God created money. He created wealth. The whole concept of wealth is created by God. But the love of money is the root of all evil. It reveals our priorities. It reveals our discipline versus impulse on how we spend money. It reveals on, are we stewards of what God has entrusted us with, or are we consumers of it? Luke 16:10 states that the one who is faithful in little is also faithful in much. A lot of men want more, but they are not faithful what they are already given by God. If you want more income and cannot manage what already has come in and what you have, having more money is not going to fix your problem. The problem is you have to fix yourself and your own actions and your own disciplines about money in order for you to be blessed with more. See, when God gave the talents to the 3 different people, He gave what they can handle. Those who gave multiplied it, they multiplied it. And the guy he only given 1, he couldn't even steward the one thing, the 1 coin that Jesus gave him. So those who are faithful in little will be faithful in much. And so you got to ask yourself, are you an emotional spender? Do you plan your finances? You want God to bless you on that next level, but you can't even manage the current level you're at. So, and it's not about being rich. Like, we have to be good stewards of the money God's entrusted us, because everything here belongs to God. Everything that we've achieved, God has given us. And if God's given that to us, that means that I'm not the owner of it. I'm the steward of it. If we're the stewards, that means that I got to change on how I spend the money. I got to change my perspective on how I give, on how I save, and the changes on how and what I build with what God has given me. A man should not be ruled by the money or the image it gives. A man should rule it with wisdom, because how you handle money reveals a lot about who you are as a person, and is a clear sign of whether you're trusting and putting your trust in God or in yourself and in money itself. See, I myself personally struggled with this a ton. There's been a time in my life where I've had a good amount of money, and I decided to put my faith and trust in the money I had instead of God. And God decided to take it away from me. God decided to show me a lesson that was very painful to me. And now I understand what I was doing and realize that it doesn't matter what you try to build your life around, whether it's money or whether it's fame or anything else. If it's not built on God, and if your trust and foundation is not in God, God will show you and He'll humble you. And so how you manage your money is a very, very important topic for men, and how they lead and how they steward what God gives them. The standard is not what you believe, is what you live. It shows up in your daily decisions. So do we control our mind? Do we discipline our body? Do we steward our morning and our finances? Do we pray in the hard times or do we panic? Do we trust in God? Do we choose discipline over the comfort? Do we decide that we want to eat healthy food instead of McDonald's? Do we choose persistence over distractions? What is governing our lives? To what standard have you set your life to? Are we obedient or do we make excuses? And as men, this matters because we're not just living for ourselves. The decisions that we make impact everything around us. Because you may be a husband, you may be a father, a business owner, you may be leading people. So you carry a responsibility that affects everybody around you. The version of you who refuses to grow is not the only one who pays the price, because your wife will feel it if you're married. She will feel the disconnect if you're not present. If you're a deadbeat husband, a deadbeat dad who can't be there and present for his children, and he can't discipline their children because he can't even discipline himself, your business will feel it because of how it's run and how it's managed. And your future will definitely feel it, because the decisions that you make today, every single day you cast a vote of whether you're getting closer to the man you want to be or further away. And I'm not trying to condemn you. I'm just saying that we men, we have an immense responsibility, and that responsibility is part of manhood, because the success and authority that you seek will constantly avoid you, just as you're avoiding the responsibilities and the discipline that you need to become a man who controls his mind. Before you lead your home, you need to govern yourself. Before you build your business, build yourself. Before you ask God for more, be faithful in what he's already entrusted you. And so before you try to change everything around you, let God change what is within you, because the standard today begins with you. The standard to living a better, godly life, a life with purpose, a life with building a legacy for your family and yourself. So here are some questions I want to leave you with, and please leave them in the comments below. What have you been struggling with? Where have we lowered the bar? Where have we lowered the standard of what we are called to be? Are we letting thoughts control us? Are we letting our bad discipline ruin our bodies? Are we letting the mornings control us? You need to stop negotiating with a version of yourself that you said you don't want to be. Start with the standard that God has given us. Live the kingdom standard. This is the Kingdom Standard Podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe and spread the word. If you can like, comment, and share this podcast and leave a review, that would help us and help me tremendously with trying to build a brotherhood of men who are ready to start their calling. God has called you to be a better man, a better husband, a better father, and a better businessman. So the standard begins with you.